Kevin Costner's reaction to Ryan Reynolds' joke at SNL last night is exactly how everybody felt about Ryan Reynolds.
I have a question.
Oh, hey, Ryan Reynolds.
I mean, for me, the way I always get into a character is through their wardrobe. When I literally inhabit them, I feel so much more. Clothes are very expressive to me.
What started as a promising book-to-film adaptation has now become one of the most talked about controversies in Hollywood. Blake Lively, once celebrated for taking on the lead role in It Ends With Us, is now at the center of a legal battle with the film's director and co-star, Justin Baldoni. The accusations: workplace discrimination, sexual harassment, and retaliation. But Baldoni isn't backing down. He's countersuing, claiming defamation, extortion, and emotional distress. This isn't just a behind-the-scenes dispute. It's a high-profile war being fought just as aggressively in the media as in the courtroom. And now, thanks to an unexpected moment at Saturday Night Live's 50th anniversary special, the entire case has taken an even sharper turn. Lively and her husband, Ryan Reynolds, made a red carpet appearance at the prestigious event, a move that immediately raised eyebrows. This was their first major public outing since the lawsuit was filed, and their glowing smiles and carefree energy seemed at odds with the intense legal battle happening behind closed doors. But it wasn't just their presence that caught the public's attention. It was what happened next. During a planned comedy skit with Amy Poehler and Tina Fey, Ryan Reynolds was given the opportunity to ask a lighthearted question. Instead of sticking to a safe, scripted moment, he seized the chance to make a veiled reference to the lawsuit. Smirking, he asked, "Why, what have you heard?" It was a direct nod to the media storm surrounding Lively's allegations and the ongoing legal drama with Baldoni. The audience laughed. Social media exploded. And almost instantly, legal analysts began dissecting the implications. For a case centered around claims of emotional distress, this moment could prove to be a turning point. Lively's lawsuit paints a picture of a woman suffering from anxiety, trauma, and fear, all as a result of Baldoni's alleged actions. But here she was, sitting in the audience, fully aware that her husband was about to joke about the very situation she claims has devastated her life. If she was truly overwhelmed with distress, would she have willingly attended such a high-profile event? Would she have remained silent while Reynolds turned her lawsuit into a punchline on national television? That's exactly what Baldoni's legal team is likely to argue. Beyond the lawsuit, Lively has faced significant backlash for how she has handled the film's marketing. Fans of It Ends With Us, a book that deals heavily with domestic violence, were already upset over the lighthearted approach being taken in the film's promotional strategy. Instead of focusing on the serious subject matter, Lively appeared to be prioritizing self-promotion, using press interviews to push her alcohol brand and her newly launched hair care line. The controversy snowballed when it was revealed that the film's marketing strategy wasn't being led by Sony, but rather by Lively and Reynolds' own company. This revelation shifted the blame for the film's perceived missteps directly onto her shoulders. The lawsuit may be about her claims against Baldoni, but in the court of public opinion, the conversation had already started turning against her. Now, with this SNL stunt, the situation has only become more complicated. From the very beginning, Baldoni has maintained that Lively's claims are false. His counter-lawsuit accuses her of attempting to seize creative control over a film she had no ownership of, leveraging her Hollywood influence to push him out. His team has suggested that the lawsuit is less about justice and more about power, about Lively using her industry connections, including Reynolds, to pressure Baldoni into submission. Now, think about what just happened. Lively and Reynolds didn't just attend SNL, they walked the red carpet, sat front and center, and participated in a viral moment that instantly dominated headlines. If Lively was truly being blacklisted, as she claims in her lawsuit, then why was she seated among Hollywood's most powerful figures, including Steven Spielberg and Kevin Costner? Why was she still receiving high-profile invitations? Baldoni's lawyers are almost certainly going to use this against her. If she wants the court to believe she has suffered extreme emotional distress, she'll need to explain why she continues to appear in public, smiling, laughing, and engaging in Hollywood's most exclusive circles. And the biggest question remains: was this all a calculated move? Was this SNL moment a pure strategy to control the narrative? With both sides refusing to settle, this lawsuit is only getting more intense. And if the court determines that public backlash against Lively wasn't orchestrated by Baldoni, but rather a natural reaction to her own decisions, then she could be facing a devastating legal defeat. If the lawsuit between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni was already complicated, the public spectacle surrounding it has made things even messier. What should have been a straightforward legal battle is now playing out across social media, late-night television, and entertainment headlines, with every move under intense scrutiny. And right now, it seems like Lively and Reynolds are doing more harm than good to their own case. Their Saturday Night Live appearance was more than just a night out. It was a calculated decision, and one that may have backfired spectacularly. The red carpet moment alone was enough to raise eyebrows, but Ryan Reynolds' now infamous joke, "Why, what have you heard?" was the real game changer. That single line, spoken in front of millions, could be a gift to Baldoni's legal team. A major part of Lively's lawsuit is her claim of severe emotional distress. She alleges that Baldoni's actions have caused her crippling anxiety, trauma, and overwhelming fear. If that's the case, then why would she willingly attend a high-profile, nationally televised event where she knew her lawsuit would become part of the joke? Legal experts are already pointing out the glaring contradiction. If someone is truly experiencing intense emotional distress, the last thing they do is put themselves in the spotlight. The last thing they do is laugh along while their husband turns their pain into comedy. And yet, that's exactly what happened. This isn't just bad optics, it's a potential legal liability. Baldoni's attorneys could argue that Lively's behavior suggests she is not as emotionally devastated as she claims. If she was able to attend SNL, sit among Hollywood's elite, and watch as her lawsuit became a punchline, then how will she convince a jury that she is too traumatized to function in her normal life? This is the kind of inconsistency that can completely change the course of a case. It's not just the lawsuit that has sparked controversy. Lively's handling of the film's marketing has also been a major point of contention. Fans of It Ends With Us, a novel that deals with domestic violence, were already upset with how the film was being promoted. Instead of emphasizing the serious themes of the story, the marketing campaign felt lighthearted and even romanticized. And to make matters worse, Lively herself was using press interviews to promote her own business ventures, her alcohol brand, and her newly launched hair care line. This move was widely criticized, with many pointing out the uncomfortable contradiction of discussing a film centered on domestic violence while simultaneously selling alcohol, a substance often linked to abuse cases. And here's where it gets even trickier. Lively has claimed in court that Sony was responsible for the film's marketing strategy, but recent reports suggest otherwise. Allegedly, the film's promotional campaign was being handled by Lively and Reynolds' own production company. If Baldoni's team can prove this, it could completely shift the blame away from him and back onto Lively. From the very beginning, Baldoni's defense has been clear. He believes that Lively is using her power and influence to manipulate the narrative. His legal team has suggested that she attempted to take creative control over It Ends With Us, despite not having the rights to do so. And when things didn't go her way, she allegedly turned to her connections in Hollywood, including her husband, to pressure him into backing down. Now, let's go back to SNL. Lively and Reynolds didn't just show up. They made themselves the center of attention. They walked the red carpet, took their seats in one of the most high-profile sections of the audience, and willingly participated in a viral moment that instantly dominated the news cycle. If Lively was truly being blacklisted, as she claims, would she still be sitting among Hollywood royalty? Would she still be receiving invitations to exclusive industry events? Baldoni's team is undoubtedly going to argue that her claims of being blacklisted are exaggerated, if not completely false. And thanks to SNL, they now have new evidence to support that argument. At this point, it's becoming clear that this lawsuit is as much about public perception as it is about legal arguments. Instead of handling the situation privately, Lively and Reynolds have allowed it to unfold in the media. Every move they make is being scrutinized, every public appearance is being dissected, and rather than regaining control of the narrative, they seem to be making things worse. If their goal was to generate sympathy, the SNL moment may have done the opposite. It made them look out of touch. It made Lively's lawsuit seem less about justice and more about strategy. And it gave Baldoni's team exactly what they needed to cast doubt on her claims. So what happens next? With both sides refusing to settle, this legal battle is far from over. But one thing is clear. If Lively and Reynolds continue making missteps in the public eye, they could be handing Baldoni's lawyers the upper hand on a silver platter. As if the legal war between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni wasn't already dramatic enough, Ryan Reynolds has now become an even bigger part of the controversy. His decision to crack a joke about the lawsuit during Saturday Night Live's 50th anniversary special wasn't just a careless moment. It may have legal consequences. With Baldoni filing a counter-lawsuit against Lively, claiming defamation and emotional distress, Reynolds' public mockery of the situation plays directly into Baldoni's defense. More than ever, this case is becoming about power, influence, and whether Lively and Reynolds are using their Hollywood status to control the narrative. Reynolds' now infamous remark, "Why, what have you heard?" was meant to be a quick-witted jab, but it immediately sparked backlash. While fans on social media laughed along, legal analysts saw a major problem. If Blake Lively is claiming severe emotional distress, why would her husband publicly joke about it? Why would he knowingly turn a serious lawsuit into comedy, especially when he himself is named in Baldoni's counterclaims? In any legal case, credibility is everything. The moment an alleged victim starts behaving in a way that contradicts their claims, the defense has an opportunity to undermine their case. And Baldoni's team is undoubtedly going to use Reynolds' joke to argue that Lively isn't as emotionally devastated as she claims. Even worse, Lively didn't just sit quietly. She attended SNL with Reynolds knowing full well that he was participating in the skit. That means she either approved of the joke beforehand, or at the very least, wasn't blindsided by it. If she were truly experiencing deep emotional turmoil over the lawsuit, would she really have allowed her husband to turn it into a punchline? This isn't the first time Reynolds has publicly taken shots at Baldoni. While the SNL joke was the most blatant, Reynolds has subtly referenced Baldoni in the past, most notably in Deadpool. Reports suggest that Reynolds inserted a character named Nice Pool into the film, allegedly a direct dig at Baldoni. While it may seem insignificant, this could be presented as part of a pattern, a sign that Reynolds has been taunting Baldoni long before the lawsuit even began. Baldoni's legal team may argue that Reynolds' involvement proves Lively isn't the one being targeted. Instead, she and her husband are the ones using their Hollywood connections to go after Baldoni. Baldoni's counter-lawsuit is built around the idea that Lively and Reynolds have used their influence to damage his reputation. His team has claimed that they've attempted to blacklist him, manipulate public perception, and smear his name to gain control over the It Ends With Us film. If that argument holds up, then the SNL joke only strengthens his case. It suggests that Reynolds and Lively aren't victims of a smear campaign, they're the ones running it. And here's the real problem. Baldoni has stayed relatively quiet in the public eye. He hasn't been making jokes about Lively. He hasn't been inserting references into his own work. He hasn't been publicly taking shots at her. Instead, he's letting Lively and Reynolds do all the talking, giving him the opportunity to appear as the more professional and composed party. If the court views Reynolds' actions as part of an orchestrated campaign against Baldoni, it could spell trouble for Lively's case. The lawsuit is already filled with contradictions, but this new development could tip the scales in Baldoni's favor. Lively's claims hinge on proving that she has been emotionally and professionally damaged by Baldoni. But if the court sees her continued public appearances, her self-promotion during the film's marketing campaign, and now her husband's involvement in mocking the lawsuit, it could severely weaken her credibility. Reynolds may have thought he was just being funny, but in the context of an ongoing legal case, his joke could be a liability. His involvement turns this lawsuit into a battle not just between Lively and Baldoni, but between two of Hollywood's most influential couples. And at this point, it's unclear whether Lively and Reynolds even realize how much damage they're doing to their own case. As the lawsuit between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni unfolds, one thing has become clear. Lively's public actions aren't aligning with the claims in her case. What started as a legal battle over alleged workplace discrimination and harassment has now turned into a full-blown PR disaster. And at the center of it all is a contradiction that could prove devastating to her case. Lively's lawsuit paints a picture of a woman suffering from severe emotional distress, crippling anxiety, trauma, and overwhelming fear. She claims Baldoni's alleged actions have had a catastrophic impact on her life and career. But her recent public behavior tells a different story. Since filing the lawsuit, Lively has continued to make high-profile appearances, promote her business ventures, and mingle with Hollywood's elite. Most notably, she and her husband, Ryan Reynolds, attended Saturday Night Live's 50th anniversary special. a major industry event broadcast to millions. If she were truly struggling with the level of distress she claims in her lawsuit, would she be sitting front and center at one of the most exclusive events in Hollywood? Would she be smiling on the red carpet, seated near Steven Spielberg and Kevin Costner, and engaging in public jokes about her case? These aren't just minor inconsistencies, they could be used as legal ammunition against her. The now infamous SNL moment, where Reynolds cracked a joke about the lawsuit, "Why? What have you heard?" has already raised serious questions. If Lively is deeply traumatized by this case, why did she allow her husband to publicly mock it? Why didn't she push back against turning her legal battle into a joke on national television? Baldoni's legal team will likely argue that this moment proves Lively isn't as emotionally devastated as she claims. They could use it as evidence that her lawsuit is less about seeking justice and more about controlling the public narrative. Beyond the lawsuit itself, Lively has already faced intense backlash over her handling of the It Ends With Us marketing campaign. The book's fan base expected a serious and respectful approach, given its themes of domestic violence. Instead, they felt the film's promotion was misleading, framing the story as a lighthearted romance rather than the hard-hitting drama they expected. And then came the biggest misstep, Lively using press interviews to promote her alcohol brand and her new hair care line. The contradiction was glaring. How could she claim to be championing a film about domestic violence while pushing an alcohol brand, given the well-documented connection between alcohol abuse and domestic violence? To make matters worse, Lively initially claimed Sony was responsible for the film's marketing strategy, but reports have since surfaced that the promotional plan was actually handled by Lively and Reynolds' own company. If Baldoni's team can prove this, it could completely shift the blame for the film's marketing missteps onto her. From the start, Baldoni has maintained that Lively's lawsuit is part of a strategic campaign to damage his reputation. He claims she attempted to seize control of It Ends With Us, and when she didn't get what she wanted, she used her influence to push him out. Now, thanks to Lively and Reynolds' very public actions, Baldoni's defense has been strengthened. The SNL joke, the high-profile appearances, and the marketing missteps all paint a picture of someone who is still operating at the highest level in Hollywood. And that raises the biggest question of all. If Lively is truly being blacklisted, as she claims in her lawsuit, why does she still seem to have more industry power than ever? With both sides refusing to settle, this lawsuit is far from over. But Lively and Reynolds' continued public missteps may be making it easier for Baldoni's legal team to turn the tables. If the court determines that the backlash against Lively was not the result of a smear campaign, but rather a consequence of her own public behavior, she could face a serious uphill battle in proving her case. And if Baldoni successfully argues that Lively and Reynolds have been using their Hollywood influence to pressure him, this legal fight could shift dramatically in his favor. At this point, Lively and Reynolds' best move might be to step back, stay quiet, and let their legal team do the work. Because every public appearance, every joke, and every misstep is only making things worse. The question now is, can Lively still turn this around, or has she already done too much damage? This case isn't just about legal claims anymore, it's about who controls the narrative. And right now, Baldoni's team may be winning that battle.